Hello everybody, Tyrone the God 3 here, and it's Valentine's Day, so I bet you all want to know, what video is Tyrone the God 3 going to do? Well, it's actually pretty interesting. I usually don't celebrate the day a lot, and last time I did a Valentine's video it was mostly just for jokes and giggles, but I feel like I should do a more shipping video. What? Doing a more shipping? A more shipping. But I already did a bunch of those with KG, and we're still not done with those. Doing a more shipping. Oh, come on. Is that really what you guys want to see? Doing a more shipping. No. No. I'm not going to do a more shipping. I was going to just go ahead and do the episode of Bardock like I do every weekend. I do a Dragon Ball Z special. But this time, I'm going to do something a bit different. I'm going to discuss an anime that probably few have really heard of. And if you have heard of it, then get ready. No more shipping. Shut up. I'm going to do a review of the anime School Rumble. School Rumble. I don't think there's any way I could do Valentine's right in terms of anime wise if I didn't review this. And I think Valentine's Day is actually the best time for it. School Rumble is interesting. Don't get me wrong, it's very good. It's very good. I just want to say that it's one of the most interesting anime I've ever watched, actually. School Rumble is basically a romantic comedy for those of you all who don't know. It's also a school life anime, which means a lot of the main characters do what they do best in a school life. Nothing that has anything to do with actual school work. School Rumble revolves around a lot of the characters and their development, and it has a large cast, and the show basically revolves around them doing everyday life things that can develop them as people as a whole, and helps these characters grow and develop interactions and development with each other. One of the things that's most noticeable about School Rumble, though, is romance. Romance is a thing that revolves around the series completely. Because of this, we get a lot of chaotic scenes and antics and hilarious moments. However, unlike most anime which revolves around romance and then stays serious with it, this is a romantic comedy. And because of that, we see a lot of these antics go completely wrong. Let me just go ahead and explain with the main characters. School Rumble revolves around two main characters, one named Tenma Skamoto and the other named Kenji Haruma. Now, the thing about the show is that Tenma is the overall main character, while Harima, he's a main character as well, and Harima has a crush on Tenma. However, the twist is Tenma has a crush on a character known as Karasuma. And Karasuma loves Kappas. He's one of the most odd characters in the entire series. He's a bit of an oddball, but regardless, Tenma still loves him. Because of this, most of the episodes are usually spent with Tenma trying to chase after Karasuma, while Harima is trying to chase after Tenma, which is what the entire show bases itself around. One giant love triangle with various antics that can go for all the way from serious confessing feelings type stuff all the way to Looney Tunes style antics that will completely fail. This is what gives the show its overall formula, and then Tenma is grouped up with several different other characters in order to spice up the formula just a bit more. The character casting in School Rumble is huge. There's a large amount of characters. If I were to discuss them all, this video would debatably take about 2 hours. So I'm going to go ahead and just explain about the main characters. First off, we have the main character herself, Tenma Skamoto. Now, the thing about Tenma, which makes her the most interesting of all main characters in the entire world of anime, Tenma sucks. I know what you all are thinking. Wow, you're just gonna diss this character like that? Not in the bashing sense. Tenma sucks in the show. She even openly admits it. A lot of the skills that Tenma has are very bad. She can't cook. She doesn't know anything about academics for real. She is not that good athletically. Tenma overall is just sort of horrible at almost every skill set. In the first episode, she literally says that. But you know what? There's something about Tenma being the main character and just her character in general that kind of gives this show something it needs. I don't know what it is about Tenma, but every time I watch the show, there's something about her that makes the show just feel right. Is it because she's cute? I don't know. Is it because she has one of the most high spirits out of all of the characters? Is it because she's funny on occasion? Is it because watching her fail is actually pretty hilarious? I guess. But I think one of the major things that makes Tenma such a great main character is that she is a failure. Most main characters in anime you watch are usually the ones that are the end-all be-all. They're the best, the Deus Ex Machina, the ones that can make a game changer out of an entire crisis situation. Say Goku, for example. But most of the Z Warriors end up losing a lot of their fights until Goku appears. Same thing with Tenma. Well, the opposite things with Tenma, I should say. Tenma isn't exactly a game changer, but she does bring something to the field that these characters sort of need to keep them binded together. It's charm. I honestly think that Tenma's friends wouldn't really be friends if it weren't for Tenma and her hilarious antics. Tenma has something that just keeps the binding and glue with everyone together. I think it's because of the fact that she's not as athletic as Makoto, or as beautiful as Eri, or as dangerous as Akira. But overall, Tenma just brings something to the entire group, or the cast in general, that makes her character very special. Next up, we have the second main character of this entire series, and debatably the most interesting character in the entire series, Haruma. Kenji Haruma. Haruma is interesting in the fact that she is in love with literally the most average of all women in terms of looks, Tenma, the main character. Haruma tries effort-filled in order to get his affections known to Tenma. However, as most of the series, Tenma doesn't really notice a lot of Haruma's efforts, and they usually end up coming flat. A lot of the efforts that Haruma ends up trying to do winds up in him ended up taking the brunt of the damage of most of his entire, endeavors. Haruma in the entire school is usually known as a badass. Because of this, a lot of people just overall view him as a ruffian or a rapscallion or a bully or a second-class citizen. This has caused Haruma to go through several different changes throughout the series, and I gotta say, he's the most developed character in this entire series because of it. I mean, this guy goes through a lot. Haruma doesn't really have anything particular about him that makes him better than everybody. However, his overall bad boy persona ends up dying out pretty quickly in the series due to his crush on Tenma. All of his endeavors wind up in him going through several different phases in his life that he learns and develops from because of them. Hell, there's one moment where Haruma winds up getting a shaved head, and he becomes completely bald, so he has to hide himself from society. He's a really good drawer, so he goes into the art business and tries to make comic books. There's a chapter of his life where he even becomes a fisherman. Haruma goes through a lot of stuff, and it's all just to impress Tenma Skamata. He does a lot and gets embarrassed, but he even has some very interesting quirks. For one, he's the only character in this entire series badass enough to have a motorcycle, and for others, he still has this heart of gold that allows him to attract almost every animal in the entire area. There's even a point where he dropped out of school for a short amount of time and became one with the animals. Yeah, it was very weird. Not sure how he pulled that off. Anyway, Haruma goes through probably the most interesting phases of character development I've seen throughout a character's lifestyle, and because of this, his journey to achieve Ten Maskamoto becomes that much more interesting. I found myself rooting for him a lot more to succeed than Tenma going for Karasuma, because Karasuma's odd. Too odd. I honestly think that Haruma's endeavors would lead him to succeed much later. But here's what the show hits you with. It's vague in terms of who succeeds and who fails. Overall, in the entire show, a lot of the main characters don't really wind up with the person they want, or end up with the relationship interactions with characters they never intended, or even the audience didn't see them having common things with. What I mean by this is that Harima winds up in somewhat of a pseudo relationship with the character that's friends with Tenma, known as Eri. He also has a bit of a relationship interaction with Tenma's younger sister, Yamiko. The thing about it is, there's a lot of relationship between the characters, and no one has a real set boyfriend or girlfriend here. They just have love interests. So I guess we should move on to the rest of the characters. Speaking of Eri, next up we'll talk about her. Eri. Eri's an interesting character in the sense that she's known as one of the most beautiful and most popular girls in the entirety of the school. She's also rich. She's basically everything that most girls want to be in the entirety of their high school life. The problem with Eri, she can be a bit of a spoiled sport, a brat, and overall she can be a little uppity sometimes. I found her character to be very disdainful, and I didn't really care much for her until she started having the love interest with Haruma. The thing about Eri is that she often feels like she's better than a lot of people. Because of this, she doesn't really have much friends because of it. She is fortunate enough to have a friend within Tenma, which in turn leads her to be in the overall group with her, Akira, and Makoto. Overall, I gotta say her character is pretty cool when we get more into the series, but base-wise, I gotta say if we were looking at her by herself, minus the Haruma love interest scenes, she's a bit of a bitch. Next off, we have Makoto, the most athletic woman in the entire school. She's known for her athletics, and she is definitely a very interesting character. Mostly because, and throughout the school, most of the guys notice her for her assets. Regardless, Makoto is definitely the most interesting of the students when it comes to the school rumble cast doing anything sports related. She's the most athletic, which means she's the most dependable. And because of this, she winds up doing some pretty amazing things throughout the series. She's also usually becoming the voice of reason when it comes to a lot of the characters in this entire series, as she doesn't really see things in a more romantic way, much like the other girls, and follows more of a tomboy-like persona. She does kind of have a love interest, but it's not really set in stone, and it's with her rival, known as the next character, which is Hanai Haruki. Hanai Haruki is very interesting in the sense that he is a very fundamental character. He follows all of the rules. He's a great class student, top of the class. He's a straight A type guy. And him and Makoto have a relationship prior to the series, but not in a romantic sense. It's actually in more of a rival sense. That's another thing that revolves around School Rumble that happens a lot, rivalry. The rivalry between two characters, either it's for a love interest or just because they're both really good at some type of sport. Because of this, Makoto winds up in a rivalry with a foreign girl in the School Rumble series later on, which this foreign girl also has another rivalry with a green-haired secondary character girl that I won't really go into much. Overall, however, Hanai Haruki shows to have a lot of fundamentals, which makes him perfect for several martial arts, which he shows to be pretty good at. This is where Makoto and Hanai basically met, is where they both took martial arts together, and I think they did kendo together as well. Because of this, they developed somewhat of a rivalry relationship that makes them want to best each other, but at the exact same time have romantic feelings for each other, simply on the fact that they both are really skilled at their own things. It doesn't get too serious, and the series doesn't focus on that type of relationship as much, but it is very noticeable, and I'm sure fans will pick it out immediately. The next character we have is probably the most interesting of the female main cast, and her name is Akira. Akira doesn't really have an overall love interest at all, actually. She's the only character in the entire series that doesn't develop a relationship complex with any of the main characters in the entire series, and for that matter, doesn't even have a main rivalry with anybody. Akira is most noticeable for one thing and one thing only. The bitch is crazy. Yeah, Akira can bust out guns and threaten people's lives and threaten to stab and or kill them. Also, she has this straight face that never breaks. Even when she's happy, even when she's sad, she's mostly just got this face like she's pissed with the world. Kind of reminds you of Raven from the Teen Titans. This woman has a straight face, and I can never really figure her out. Nobody can, in fact. She can get from doing some wacky, kooky things, but still have the straight, angry face as if she's pissed with the world. But the thing about Akira is that she's basically the other backup of glue that keeps this entire group together. I mean, sure, without Tenma, this group would completely fall apart, but Akira usually serves as the last-minute voice of reason. She's mostly the silent type in the entire series, but overall, that makes her character the most strongest in terms of overall goals, objectives, and interactions. Her words mean the most, and that's mostly because she has a straight face and doesn't say much. But when she does say something, you guarantee it's going to catch all the attention. This is a school anime, and this is an anime, so no one really minds that she just breaks out guns of high caliber in front of the entire cast. And a lot of the characters do get scared, but overall, no one really cares. But her threat level is still very noticeable. She's probably the most dangerous of all the characters in terms of the female cast. And that's overall the main cast of School Rumble. Oh, I guess I should mention one more main cast character, and her name is Yamako Skamato. She is the younger but yet far more successful sister. I'm dead serious. Yamako is great. She is the more of the silent type as well. And she is known to be some good friends with Akira and the rest of the gang, but she is younger than Tenma. And Tenma feels like she's the one that has to be the older sister to take care of her, when in fact, it's the other way around. Yamako is the one that takes care of Tenma. Yamako knows how to cook. Yamako knows how to draw. Yamako's pretty athletic. Yamako gets friends with a lot of people. Yamako is probably the best character. Hanai Haruki actually has a very big crush on Yamako, but Yamako doesn't really have the same feelings towards him. However, this does lead to some hilarious moments. Because both Yamako and Tenma's names are Skamato, this causes some confusion, and Haruma thinks that Hanai ends up having a crush on Tenma because of the last name problem. Because of this, Haruma and Hanai wind up in a large amount of rivalries between each other to try to impress Skamato. They're not aware that one is Tenma and the other is Yamako, but it does lead to some hilarious moments, and the two characters become the prominent rivals throughout all of School Rumble. There's even a scene, I believe, where Haruma ends up turning Super Saiyan, but it was just a gag dream joke. And in fact, there's a lot of other anime references, and not even just anime, but references in general throughout the entirety of this series. There's even a Matrix reference when Tenma tries to shoot Cupid arrows at somebody, but Haruma ends up dodging them. There's a lot of really funny references in here, and I guess that's what I should get to about School Rumble. School Rumble is funny. Whether you're a fan of slapstick comedy, whether you're a fan of pop culture reference comedy, whether you're a fan of impressions, whether you're a fan of anything that has a wacky turnabout of the end of it, even bad jokes with puns and punchlines, School Rumble will not disappoint when it comes to the hilarity of the characters and how it goes. Everything in this series is completely hilarious and funny and makes for a great series overall. A lot of the failures that come within each of the characters is pretty hilarious as well. I should also stop to mention that the characters have a giant love mix up. If I were to explain the relationships between all the characters, I think this video would last about 5 days. So yeah, a lot of fans dedicatedly ship a lot of characters in this entire series. So we can only speculate how many fans have shipped characters with which, even if the characters haven't had any scene of interaction. School Rumble's cast is huge, and even in the next series, School Rumble's second semester, which is a series that basically adds more characters and gives them development. Most of these characters are still secondary characters, but they still make for a very interesting plot. The plot is also interesting in the fact that a lot of the characters have rivalries with each other, in which Class A can have a rivalry with characters from Class B, which causes to some very competitive and awesome moments that don't have to do with relationships. Overall, the show basically ends with none of the characters really finding a huge resolve. I'm not really spoiling anything. It's just this show doesn't really have a resolution, only because I believe that the writers want you to go ahead and make conclusions for them. There is a manga series out there that does conclude a lot of them, known as School Rumble Z, but I never really read it. Go ahead and check School Rumble out. It is really fun. It's hilarious. The character cast is huge. And a lot of the serious moments that happen in School Rumble are more important only because the show mostly revolves around comedy. It's a great way to relax, unwind, and it's definitely a good show to watch when you need some romance and comedy. I'll see you all then, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day. Tyrone the God 3 out. Hello everybody, Tyrone the God 3 here. I hope you enjoyed my review of the anime School Rumble. I know I did. Thought it was a good anime to review for Valentine's Day. But if you watch this video and you still want some more romance talk or some Valentine's Day stuff, go to KG's channel where him, I, and Dean and the others, we talk about the amour shipping between Ash and Serena. So happy Valentine's Day. See ya.